Though it is over for Christmas night, not exactly for the fright and the light. That's right, welcome to the very first horror comic review on this channel. Pretty monumental moment, and I think this specific issue is very appropriate considering the fact that Christmas just ended a couple days ago. And even though that means the holiday is over, the spirit is still lingering around somewhere. So might as well talk about the last remaining piece of this holiday horror that I really wanted to touch upon for this year. And that is none other than the Creepshow Holiday Special. That's right, Creepshow released a holiday special one-shot comic issue for Volume 2 of the Creepshow comic. Now, I have not covered Volume 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be going through the different issues of the Creepshow comics and then eventually doing a collective, I think, ranking of the stories when I talk about Volume 1. And then when Volume 2 ends, I will do that as well, because Volume 2 is not over yet. Volume 2 is still continuing on, and I actually just read the recent issue that dropped. But this one I wanted to talk about first because Christmas just finished a couple of days ago, and this specific holiday one-shot was, of course, Christmas related, and we got 2 Christmas stories in this one. So I thought I'd cover it. And you know what? This is actually the best issue of Volume 2 because, in my opinion, Volume 1 was much better overall. I really enjoyed the stories. I thought that they often fit a lot of the length that they were given, because a big problem with these Creepshow comics is that the pages quite literally make a constraint for the stories. And because of this constraint, it's not able to effectively tell some of these stories, because you end up getting rushed endings or ideas that are too ambitious and they don't really fit them on the pages that they're meant for. Volume 1 did a much better job of handling that, even though I think some of those stories should have been made into episodes. But this volume kind of suffers from the fact that these stories are a little bit too ambitious, or they take too long to build up, and then that ending becomes rushed. Same thing happens in these 2 stories for the holiday special. However, I still enjoyed them quite a bit. So let's talk about it. The holiday one-shot special. What are the 2 stories in this Creepshow comic? Well, first of all, you have Christmas Man. Christmas Man is about this little girl on the night of Christmas, Christmas Eve, where she's basically watching a holiday program, and she has her older brother and their 2 friends. And her older brother and his 2 friends are basically dickheads. These guys are complete pricks. They basically torment the little girl. They talk about how Santa got ran over by a reindeer. He froze to death. You know, he's not coming tonight to drop off gifts. And they're basically taunting her. She's kind of used to her brother being a dickhead, so she's kind of letting it slide, not doing too much about that. But as, you know, their taunts kind of continue, her brother creates this idea of this other being, an entity that is, you know, a prominent in the Christmas holiday and, you know, arrives that night as well to people's houses, which is called the Christmas Man. Now, as described by him, the Christmas Man is the abominable snowman of the North Pole. He's this terrifying creature, you know, muscular, multiple eyes, reindeer antlers, razor-sharp teeth, big hands and claws, and just basically this giant monstrosity. And the fur that's on Santa's suit actually belongs to the Christmas Man's family, which was killed by Santa Claus. So Santa Claus is a murderer out here. He's taxidermying Christmas Man's family. That's gangster as fuck, bro. That is gangster as fuck, man. Taking down his whole family lineage. They doing the Naruto, you know what I'm saying, Uchiha clan treatment to this Christmas Man family. That's crazy. That's crazy. The Christmas men, women, and children are getting bodied one shot by Santa. Maybe this Santa Claus is more like that one from the Shapeshifters Anonymous Christmas special from the Creepshow Shutter series, which actually that Santa Claus is like fucking T-1000, the most powerful being on the goddamn universe. Maybe that's the one that's taking down Christmas Man's family. We might need a crossover. We might need a crossover between Christmas Man and Shapeshifters Anonymous. That's just an idea. For any potential writers out there for the show or producers, that's just an idea. Maybe next Christmas we get that. But regardless, this abominable snowman has some beef with Santa, according to the older brother. And because his family got killed by Santa, Santa basically hides, and this is one of the funniest lines from this comic story. One of the friends says, Santa's a pussy. Santa's a pussy that hides in his workshop all year long. So he don't want that smoke. He don't want to come out there and run the fade with Christmas man. He don't want that smoke, bruh. He's a pussy, bruh. He don't want to fight him. But Christmas, he has to. He has to go to work and he has to drop off presents for people. So when Santa goes out on Christmas night, the Christmas man basically sees it as his opportunity to kill Santa Claus. So he goes out as well. And they describe how, Christmas man, he has no toes because frostbite took him. And the reason why people keep these Christmas stockings up on, the mantles of fireplaces and, the walls is because, Christmas man takes these stockings and puts it over his feet because Christmas man basically has to run around. He doesn't have a sleigh. Santa gets away from Christmas man every year because of the sleigh damn near. But Christmas man has to run. He's got super speed. He can run all the way across the globe. And as he's running, obviously his feet get cold. He's got no toes. He lost them due to frostbite. So he has to get stockings from people's houses and put it on to warm up his feet. Wild fucking premise. Wild fucking urban legend that these kids come up with. And as he breaks into people's houses, if you don't have stockings up there, he basically bites off your toes. He's going to grab you and bite each of your toes off, which is crazy. And first of all, he's not going to bite my toes off. My toes are fucking disgusting. We don't need to show them babies, but ooh-wee. I don't think Christmas man wants my shit. Neither does he want Shaquille. My toes, Shaquille O'Neal, and David Goggins. We got probably some of the nastiest feet out there. He's definitely going to die from fucking hepatitis or Ebola if he bites off my shit. Or their shit. But you know what? It is what it is. Christmas man is out here biting off toes. All you OnlyFans kink people, you watch out. Not sucking toes, biting off toes. Biting off toes is more... to the labor point. It's not quite as fetishized. But he's basically running around biting off people's toes, and they basically scare the little sister, saying, you better be good and put up these stockings, otherwise he might come and bite your shits off. And obviously she doesn't really believe it, but they kind of keep prodding this idea in her mind that, it's Christmas. Anything is possible on Christmas. Christmas miracles, Christmas magic is in the air. Anything can happen. And Christmas man is going to be very much present. And she doesn't believe it. This is just a made-up story, right? They made it up on the spot. Even you're intended to believe that. However, as the story progresses, let's just say, maybe some things might be more than meets the eye. And, maybe some things actually turn out true on the holidays. And that's where I'm going to leave at. Not going to touch that story any further because it's very easy to spoil. Now, what would I give this story? I gave this one a 7.6 out of 10, which means that this is quite the good story. This is a good story. I would definitely recommend you guys read this issue. I think both stories are good. This one, to me, is my preferred one out of the two. I think the idea of Christmas Man is super fun. I really love the idea of Christmas Man, the idea of these guys creating this urban legend, and then it ends up maybe becoming more real than they intended. I love Christmas Man's design. It is super, super terrifying. A very creepy, very scary monster design. I only wish that in the comic story they had better angles of Christmas Man, because you really only get one angle to see of the monster design. And it's not really in the best angle. I didn't think we got a full body view of how scary it is. You see drawings of Christmas Man, made in sort of like a kiddish cartoon style. But when you actually get, a look at the monster design, it's not quite as good as, you'd want it to be in terms of how it's angled, in terms of how they visualize Christmas Man to look. So I wish we got better of that. But overall, I think it's a fun story. This is a fun idea. It really does kind of embody the Christmas spirit. It sort of combines the ideas, the cliches of, Scrooges, people who don't believe in Christmas, people who torment younger siblings, and then they bite off more than they can chew. Or certain beings bite off more toes than they can swallow. I don't know how the saying goes in this case, but that's basically what Christmas Man is about. And I thought it was a super fun idea. Fun story, great monster design, quite gruesome towards the end, and things get pretty wild. I think that this would have made a great episode. I hope that the Creepshow Shutter series maybe thinks about adapting comic stories. I know that these comics are separate from the TV show. I don't know if they have to purchase rights. I know the TV show's budget is getting cut down more and more. But if they were able to adapt Christmas Man as an episode, I think it would make a really fun episode. And this one actually reminds me of an episode from Tales from the Dark Side, which I watch, which I think is called Seasons of Belief, which I think this story may have been inspired from. And considering Tales from the Dark Side and Creepshow are kind of similar to each other, the Tales from the Dark Side movie was a spiritual successor to the Creepshow series, considering Creepshow 3 is fucking septic tank garbage. That shit garbaggio. That doesn't even count as Creepshow. So the fact that they have sort of this little connection to each other, kind of similar in vein, I think they were inspired by the Seasons of Belief Tales from the Dark Side episode, maybe to a degree, because it's very similar. You know, the parents are kind of telling the idea to their kids of this being that exists out in the North Pole that is kind of an opposing force to Santa Claus, kind of exist alongside him. Similar to kind of like Krampus and stuff. Krampus is sort of a real myth of the shadow of Santa Claus. These are made up, you know, urban legends that the characters make. The parents in Seasons of Belief make up this urban legend about this creature that also runs across the globe. And, you know, they say that it's going to arrive at the house just to scare the kids. And then it turns out to be a little bit more than meets the eye as well. Very similar to this story. And it's funny because this story also, the design of Christmas Man is also a little bit similar to Krampus. Not exactly like Krampus, but similar in terms of build and structure. I could see why people might mistake the two. So those ones are pretty much inspired. So I think this story was probably inspired by Krampus, inspired by Seasons of Belief, Tales from the Dark Side. And it's a fun story. I wish it could be turned into an episode. I think this is a fun one, and it is my preferred story out of the two. So this one gets a 7.6 out of 10. The next story in this Creepshow holiday special, which is the last story, there's only two in here. It's called Package Thieves. Now, Package Thieves is more like a modern horror story. It's about this, I don't know if they're a couple, it's about this either a group of two girlfriends or maybe a lesbian couple, I'm not sure. But they essentially are, as the name insinuates of the story, package thieves. They basically steal Amazon packages. They steal gifts from people's houses, and they basically bring it back to their house, and they either, you know, use them or sell them and get money off of them, off kind of like the black market and those kind of websites. So they're basically out there stealing a bunch of people's gifts on the holidays and then reselling them and getting money. Very unethical. They're quite aware of that. They are robbing. And they're always, you know, kind of on high alert, making sure they don't get caught. You know, they're running around neighborhoods. But they've been doing this gig for a while, making a lot of money off of it. And the main character in this story is this redheaded woman who does do these immoral acts, but she kind of has this sense of guilt to her where she kind of feels like she is doing something wrong, and she's kind of, you know, feeling bad that they're stealing presents from families who may really want it, and it kind of messes up the whole festivity, and it messes up family connections and love. But her friend or a potential partner is basically saying, no, you know, they get reimbursed, you know, all these shopping websites, you know, they reimburse them, they get their money back, you know, they can always buy another one and all this stuff. So she's very nonchalant. She doesn't really care about what happens to people. And, you know, as they continue through the story, they keep doing it. And you have this kind of clash between their personal beliefs. And then what ends up happening is that the redheaded girl suspects that she's being followed. She thinks that there's a couple times where this man in a hood is following her. And she starts becoming super paranoid. She starts becoming worried that someone may be finding out what they're up to. Maybe it's the cops. The cops are finally onto them, trying to catch them in the middle of, you know, of her stealing a package and then potentially arresting and blowing this whole gig and operation that they're doing. However, what happens one day is they're at this, I guess, like, if I can remember, a Christmas festival. I don't know how you guys explain it, but where I lived in the city, there are these, like, winter fairs where they sell off, like, a lot of items, food and stuff like that during the holidays. I think that's what they're at. And this man in glasses, this older man in glasses, approaches them because they have this toy robot dog on the table when they're drinking or eating. And he basically, freaks out. He's like, wow, how did you guys get this robot dog? This toy's been sold out on all the websites, and I ordered one, but it never came through. And, I'm really upset. Like, my daughter is in the hospital right now, and I bought her it with the little money I had because I'm paying off her hospital bills for her terminal condition. And it never came through. So he starts begging him, can I buy this off of you? Where'd you get this? He starts questioning, where'd you get this? Can I buy it off of you? And they're kind of hesitant. Well, the redheaded girl is kind of a little bit paranoid because of the stuff that's been happening to her. But the other girl, who's her partner in crime, basically kind of says, yeah, we'll give it to you, but you have to pay like $75 for it. And he's like, whoa, $75? I originally paid 30 or 40 something dollars on the website. You're charging more, almost double that. And she's like, listen, man, it's sold out everywhere. You're going to pay the price I want you to pay. And you know what? You better pay it if you're so desperate. Otherwise, I don't like your attitude when you came in and talked about my friend. So either pay up or leave. Very cold, very sort of nonchalant, not caring about his situation. And he sort of becomes a little bit jaded. He gets a little bit angry. And he sort of starts making smart remarks against the redheaded girl because she tries to help him out and say something. He's a little bit mad. And then her partner in crime snaps and basically tells him, pay up or fuck off. That's what it is. Pay up $75 or fuck off. And he walks away, doesn't accept the offer. And then the next time that she goes to taking some more packages, her paranoia starts increasing more and more. And something more than meets the eye may be going on. And let's just say things get kind of wild towards the end. Quite gory, quite crazy, and quite scary. This story is very much like a modern horror story, dealing with, we have Amazon that delivers packages, FedEx, UPS, a very sort of modern kind of story dealing with packages and how, packages get stolen a lot, unfortunately, how thieves kind of think about it or think they can get away with it, and sort of introducing this kind of like jigsaw aspect to it where you have this villain who's potentially doing something more than meets the eye, which I actually forgot to bring up this part of the story, so my bad on that. But another big aspect of the story that I forgot to mention is the fact that, as they're committing these crimes of stealing these packages, they bring these packages home, and when they open it, they find severed body parts inside of the packages. That's right, they find severed hands and organs inside of these packages. I actually forgot to mention this part because I kind of wanted to avoid spoilers, and it's hard to avoid spoilers for these kind of stories. But yeah, they find these severed body parts and packages before they meet the man and before they get into arguments, with one another. They keep getting these packages of dead body parts like severed hands, severed feet, organs, hearts, and they freak out, right? Like the girl thinks that, there's some sick joke being played on her, and that hooded figure that's been following her that she thinks is the cops or somebody trying to catch her, bust her, she realizes, well, maybe this is some sicko, some psychopath that's coming after us. And as the story progresses, they start realizing maybe we're the ones being targeted and our actions are not going to go unpunished. So you have that sort of modern horror package thieves dealing with this kind of psychopath that is, sending off body parts, whether fresh, whether bought, you don't know. Is he targeting these women? Is this sort of a sick form of justice? Very twisted, very psychopathic. And it reminds me a lot of the Saw franchise with Jigsaw. Jigsaw was a villain who kind of targeted people that were morally unethical, did wrong things, but the stuff that he did to them is so horrible that no one could really justify it. But at the same time, his victims are not innocent people, really. This is sort of that kind of premise where you have this modern setting with, shipping packages being stolen, Amazon, that kind of thing. And then you have the psychopath, these people who are naturally guilty, and you kind of see what starts to unfold with that. So this one, to me, is just a little bit under Christmas Man and gets a 7.5 out of 10. The reason why it gets a 7.5 is because I'm not going to lie, y'all. The story was so well written. It had fantastic pacing. I loved the premise of it, and I thought it could be made into an actual movie, that I was going to give this a 9 out of 10 or higher. Its build-up is so good. The idea of these two women who are thieves and then, you know, them opening up these packages and finding body parts, finding severed body parts and organs is super disturbing. And then you start becoming paranoid with them. You start becoming eerie. You're kind of nervous as to what might happen to the main character. And it's really suspenseful, really creepy, really disturbing. And it has a pretty good moral lesson that's executed in a fucked up way. And it was so good, so well written. I was going to give it a 9 out of 10. However, again, the ending is very sort of kind of rushed and thrown in there. And it kind of felt a little bit too rushed. It left some things unanswered, kind of raised some questions, and I didn't feel like it was a satisfying end to the story. If the story was just a couple of pages longer, maybe 2 to 4 pages longer, this probably would have gone to 9 out of 10 if they could have fleshed some things out more. But, you know, it kind of tanked the score a little bit. It's still a really good story. 7.5 out of 10 is a good score. But I felt like it had potential to be one of the best stories that I read out of the volume, and it just kind of missed the mark. And same thing with Christmas Man. Christmas Man did get a higher score, 7.6 out of 10. It is a little bit better. However, it did sort of face the same thing where the ending is sort of disappointing. You have all this build up, the fun idea, fun premise, and then when you get to the ending, it feels kind of rushed and too short, and it's kind of missing those punchlines that you kind of want and kind of make a story really, really good. But overall, this holiday special was a fun one. I'd suggest you go check it out. It's super fun, super interesting. Maybe I spoiled a little bit too much of the stories, but to be fair, this is a review. And of course, it's very hard for me to not spoil these because they're so short. So it's a lot that you kind of have to just talk about. And then I just left out the endings because I don't want anybody to know what the endings are. And what the climaxes are. I leave out the climax and endings, just kind of give you the body of the story and what kind of might interest you. So yeah, good stories, really good. I'd suggest you go check them out. They're quite fun. And they feel very much like Christmas. They embody the Christmas spirit in 2 different ways. One is a very festive, sort of urban legend mythology kind of way that's super fun and super interesting. But you might have seen it in some places before, but not quite done like this. And the other one is a modern version, the real life implications of Christmas, the stuff that we deal with, and real life problems. So you have this more mythical fun idea and this more modern horror realistic setting. And overall, the contrast, the duality, and the fun writing of it, just overall, I think it was super satisfying. I love this issue. I think it's probably the best one out of volume 2, and I'd suggest you all read it. So yeah, that's my review for the holiday special one-shot comic of 2023 by Creepshow, and I'm going to be doing more reviews of the comics later on, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're feeling in the Christmas spirit, hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button as well. And yeah, check out some more of my content. I have a lot of videos, a lot of shorts, and more content to come. I'm also on a podcast called the Goose Junkies Podcast, and we just recently, yesterday, recorded a holiday episode involving 2 Haunting Hour episodes clashing against each other for our rankings and ratings, which were Creature is Stirring and Goodwill Towards Men, as well as a discussion at the end about our favorite Christmas movies. So go check out the new Goose Junkies episode, go check out some of my other videos, and hit that subscribe and like button if you guys like that content. It's a good way to support me, lets me know you guys are engaged with it and you enjoy it. So yeah, happy holidays. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. That's all I have for today. Deuces. Yo, man, watch your toes, man. I'm telling you, man, if you got pretty toes, unlike me, you might get them bitten off by the Christmas man. Also, don't be stealing packages, all right? Do not steal packages. That's not okay. But if any of you happen to have a PS5 on the way for Christmas, maybe it was a late package that didn't come in yet, I would have no idea about it. And if any of you happen to still have one that didn't come in, maybe drop your address in the comments below. No particular reason.